Repeat. If they want a prize.
The 1099 range of out. He's agreed to do
item
and to all how high we're able to go and whatnot is basically the difference between building one and building two. Our goal is basically to help spur some sort of redevelopment downtown to turn some sort of facade program or even just a standard redevelopment program, just to get some reinvestment going back down there and making those buildings, bringing new businesses back in. That is basically it. I mean, we're not here necessarily to ask for handouts or anything like that. We're just trying to help utilize the programs that exist, or if we can't do that, to try to create a program that helps not just us, but everybody else that wants to do something like this. That is all I got.
So you say there is a way, I guess I'm not familiar with it, that they partner up on a grant?
There's I know Missouri law better than I do Kansas law, so Kansas I've gotta look into, but every EDC that I've looked into, every grant process, unless I'm a municipality applying for it, or it's going to be some sort of nonprofit or shelter, they through the application process.
Mike, do you know anything about the?
No, I honestly don't. I mean, if we're looking for an expert on how to fund private investments, I'm not him. Yeah, like Mr. Lamb was saying, the grant opportunities that I'm familiar with, that we deal with all the time, you kind of have to be a municipal entity.
I mean, if the council was interested in that concept, I mean, I'd be willing to work with Shane on seeing if that's doable, where, you know, there would be some transparent way for the city to essentially apply, but knowing, you know, it may be something where the city takes title of the building for the period of the grant, or, but I'd be willing to work with Shane on that, end of it, if everybody was comfortable, at least with the concept of at least exploring that. And I think, you know, the second question, just feedback on what's in the memo as to whether the city would be willing to loan city funds to Mr. Lincoln. And that obviously would require quite a bit of due diligence as far as, you know, we would need to make, if that's something the council wants to explore, we would need to make sure that the city was protected as far as, you know, the money loan, make sure we had recourse back, if any, you know, if there were any hiccups with the project, so, maybe it'd be useful to kind of get everybody's thoughts on those two plans, and we can go from there.
I am interested in seeing what kind of, to your first point, I would like that developed further as to what public-private partnership might be possible to, at the 3 alliteration there. To put together an agreement to pursue some grant money that, the second question is a little more difficult to take more consideration. I'm not sure. I know investment is going to be hard to come by downtown, and if we are not willing to step up and do something down there, nothing's going to happen. I don't know what level of investment I would be comfortable putting public funds into it. So I'm not opposed to the idea.
That would have to be set up as for the downtown area without getting that redevelopment. It's quite a long process to get something set up like that, isn't it? Can we do something like that? If we're doing something for him, then we should make it available for everybody within a certain distance down there. And we had to do that in the form of a resolution or something like that.
Ron had asked a question about the taking money from the electric utility fund, would that affect our rating? And Jeff was pretty comfortable saying the loan for $140,000 that you approved for the lighting, he was pretty confident that would not affect the rating. But he did say that, you know, if that's a continual source of, you know, where the city's taking out of that fund, that he did think it would affect the rating. So if I'm hearing everybody, it sounds like that electric utility fund really is the only, you know, rainy day fund we have, and if that's critical to doing this program, I think you probably would have to assume that it could affect the city's credit rating.
Do we have a do you have any threshold or?
No, he just said the rating agency, that they have, in the past, when it's been explained to them, like for the vehicles, that, you know, this is simply an internal loan, you know,
So they look
within the
whole
city,
thing.
right, they kind of looked, and they were fairly comfortable with that arrangement, but I would guess something like this would be a whole different ballgame, because you are loaning the money outside of the city entity.
Lord?
I actually was going to meet with Sarah tomorrow and talk a little bit about probably what you've already got from Dave that I haven't seen. But kind of trying to get some ideas to bring to the rest of the council on how we can get a little bit more proactive in this type of thing. So, I mean, I'm definitely not in any way ready to move on anything with this right now until we kind of know what is available. You know, I look at Sarah because I know she does know a lot of the things, what is able to do in this state and what we can do and the different avenues that we would be able to help a downtown area. I'm definitely not thinking $200,000 loans, but you know, when we talked about this originally, you know, my mind was a lot smaller than that.
Mhm.
So, you know, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna get Shane here, but I'm not gonna fund his project down there, you know, as far as the city. There's no way I thought we're doing something like that, just to let you know right up front. But willing to work with him on what we can do. I mean, you know, if there was a grant out, you know, and that worked out with us, that'd be a whole different thing to look into, so I'm not against that. So, but I think as a council, we need to come to kind of some policies, you know, before we start having people come to us as far as what we do want to do. What kind of idea, what ideas are out there, where can we help, maybe get creative, maybe there are some creative ways we can help that aren't coming out of our pocket. You know, I don't, you know, this is a little extreme, I think, right here, but yet I do want to help him how we can. But like I said, I'm, you know, hoping to, you know, we did talk about that. Downtown is one area. I think we also have to be very careful when you start, you know, loaning money to individuals that have projects that they want to do, that, you know, where it stops. And, you know, we you know, that's why I think a policy on, okay, we're only going to help in the downtown. We have a district we want to rebuild, but we need to have something really formally in place before we do that, because, you know, there's a lot of areas in town that people may want to try to take, you know, use that same kind of thing. So, like I said, I think it's something that we need to, as a council, kind of get some ideas from Sarah, from Dave, put these together, and kind of go from there. And, you know, not that we have to, you know, I just don't want to jump on anything right away without looking at everything that's available to do.
Are you okay with Patrick pursuing a grant type
Well, I'm not
information anyway?
getting information. I mean, we need to get the information.
Yeah.
So unless Sarah already knows some of that information from her past and research, I'm not against Pat using his time to do that. Now that's, you know,
I was more thinking along the terms of legally, is that something we could do where
Oh, I
we would
see.
be the named
Right.
like applicant, but the funds would be flowing to him, and the city wouldn't be, we wouldn't be out any money, but our name would be, you know, on the application, just to make sure that that was kosher.
well, I think that's important that we have that information before we even
Yeah.
start to look any further on anything in that room. So, but I think that's, for right now, that's all I have to say.
Bill?
Yeah, Shane, like Lori said, this is nothing personal. I kind of agree like that the city should not be a bank. I do agree that, because I've looked through a code book right in front of me here, and I'm looking at all the things that are in there, and there's absolutely nothing in there that says that we could possibly give money. I mean, we can give incentives, and there's a 9-year limit, and the tax abatements they drop down, and then they start off really high and drop off, that we can do that. And it's right, it's you know, downtown redevelopment district. And we've talked about this in the EDC about coming up with ideas. I think one of the first things that we need to do is sit down in a group, whether it's a workshop or whether it's at a council meeting, and sit down and bring in developers, bring in builders, and bring in guys like Shane, and sit down and come up with some codes and ordinances that need to apply to these issues to make it stand, because there's 18 other privately owned buildings on that street, not to mention a building of our own that probably needs at least that much work on it. You know, we need to look at incentives for not only just the downtown redevelopment, but the housing development that's gonna come, whether it be working with, the tax increment, financing programs like we did with the grocery store, or tax abatements, or working like we have with the, reduced to zero building fees, maybe, get with some of those builders and developers and sit down and say, okay, well, what's it gonna cost? Or what can we do to actually help you get these things started? And maybe, Shane, in the meantime, you can work with, there are other buildings available for sale downtown. Maybe you can get with some other developers to come back to a workshop or a council meeting, and we'll set up time to sit down and say, okay, what is it that you actually need? If all of you got together and put your money in there, and then we'd say, okay, well, we don't like building one or building two, you know, but we like the concept of redevelopment of downtown, because that is something that I would like to see. I mean, when you look at the girls that have the little shop at Christmas time uptown, it is so nice to see cars parked up there and activity going on. I don't think there's a citizen in DeSoto that wouldn't like to see that. Now, are they gonna be willing to take money out of their own pockets to give to you to rebuild something that you bought?
Yeah, and
You know,
and my point with this is not necessarily to ask for a loan. I mean, because I've got my own cash to do it. The problem that we get is it's that beginning phase. A bank won't touch it now because it's so heavily distressed. It's getting through that gray area that makes it to where I can actually do something with it. Because right now, I mean, I don't know, I think Patrick's seen it. I mean, it's gonna take me 25 grand just to clean up the nastiness inside of it and fix it to get it somewhat safe. Just to be able to do something with it from that point. The point I'm trying to find is just not necessarily a loan, some sort of way, like through the grant process, that just fills the gap for not necessarily me, but the other people. Because I could have bought 4 others that were already done, but then I still have this other one dragging it down. That's
Right.
why I bought the worst of the worst right now, and then I intend on buying more and redeveloping more. But getting through this first hurdle is just what I'm trying to figure out, because I can't take it to my banker right now. I mean, he would probably give me 5 grand for
no,
it. I mean,
that's why I'm saying we should have some kind of a workshop or a meeting and get together where we can change our codes to find out this, and you and Patrick can research this to see if there is some way that legally we can give us incentives,
Yeah.
you know. But I think that those incentives need to apply to not only just the downtown district, but some of the people in this community who have money invested in housing development, so that when the grocery store does hit, that there are lots to build and office spaces that need to be rented. I mean, we need to work on, I think we need to work on all of our incentive packages and get that to where it is equal for everybody.
Well, we had a program before, the downtown redevelopment, and I don't think there was a lot of participation in it, but it's probably time for us to revisit that and see along those lines what we can do to help developers out. So,
Well, that was here when Rick and I came on.
yeah,
And the city spent like $50,000 for the company to come and tell us what we could do in town.
yeah.
Spend $2 or $3 million or whatever to fix it, or $1.5 million. But it all went back to one thing: how you gonna pay for it?
Yeah.
Sales tax is what that was based on, and there's no sales tax up there. And I'm for having businesses up there that bring in sales tax, but there was nothing up there you could get sales tax for maybe 2 businesses, 2 buildings. I won't agree to anything where we may be on a line to have to pay it back, because we already got a road and a street in this town that we're paying on, the people that we're paying on. I don't want any more. We need to spend the money on things for the people in DeSoto County. So I'm sorry if I'm sounding too rough, but we're not a bank, and we're getting less of being a bank because we're spending our money.
Yeah.
And Bill, just to briefly, on the fortunate or unfortunate, I guess, however you look at it, the only other, like method in-person money is through a economic development grant. Cities, it's sort of a fallback when you don't have anything else, and DeSoto has done that. We gave the school district that type of grant to cover the assessments for the stoplight benefit district. But when I was putting those incentives together, I purposely did not put that in there because I just assumed, you know, if you put it in there, and it's very rare. You truly just do it as when there's just simply nothing else that you can offer. And I mean, I think most people would tell you it's kind of the last resort. So,
Well, it's my understanding that we can change these things.
well,
So
but
I'm
do you
just,
want?
I'm
Yeah.
just going on that. I think that with the grocery store coming, that we're gonna have to look at these issues. I think we're gonna have to make some concessions and get some incentives going and have specific codes. And because I've had local businessmen that have businesses in DeSoto already and are established that are saying, okay, well, you give incentives to new businesses. What about the people that came in with their own money, paid cash, and we'd like to add on? Is there any way that I can have an incentive? So, you know, I think we need to look at a broad spectrum of ideas and sit down and go through all these codes to fit everybody.
Danny, any thoughts?
Yes, I think we really do need to get some incentive. I'd like to see Patrick also look into some, some federal grants. Like I know that Lenexa and the Lake that we're using some of them for new people to come in to get some properties, and they got some federal grants going on there. And for our downtown district, and I also believe we should start getting some incentives for the downtown area and some others, but we're gonna have to have a workshop to do that in, so I think we need to expand on that, and it needs to be done soon, so it's in place before, like they say, hits the fan, because it'll be here before we know it, and it's here now, so.
Well, I'll have some discussions with Mike Press, you know, since he gets on board, and I'm sure he's got a lot of experience in different things, with the grants and those types of things, because he's been around for quite a while, so we'll get him started on and looking into that with Patrick.
Yeah, if we could get some assistance in that direction, I think it would help Mr. Lamb and us both.
I guess I just wanted to make the point that we just redid that. What you're looking at was just went through, and in there is every statutory incentive possible. And you're right, many of the statutes are triggered by new growth. There's really not any statute for, just to help out, an existing business that's having trouble. There just isn't, other than this economic development grant that's just kind of a catch-all. So I just didn't want, it sounds like, and I get being creative and things, but you're not gonna find a whole host of other, incentives that are allowed under the state law, as Danny mentioned, maybe some federal opportunities, but under state law, what you're looking at is the full list except for that economic development grant.
Yeah, and just to clarify one thing, this business is not failing, the guy that asked me about it, he's not failing in any way.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I just meant that you have to have, if you're doing something different, like expanding, or it's a brand new business, that's what the statutes are premised on, that you're bringing additional tax money, so that justifies certain.
So there are incentives for somebody who wants to expand?
Sure. And that's in there, that talks about
Okay.
expansion and new businesses.
Okay, that's good.
I think that the big thing to when you're reading through it is that what we can and can't do isn't just what we up here want us to be able to do and not do. A lot of it is state statute that tells us what we can and can't do. So there's limits of what we can do, and retail is one of those areas that limits are, there's not much we can do unless there is a grant program or something like that. There's just not a lot by state statute that we can do. So depending on the size of this person's business and expanding, more than likely it's not going to be something that retail, you can't do tax abatements. Tips are very tough to do. So the things that we have done are they're not easy, and they're not made for a Lori expanding her business type thing, so.
Well, there's a lot of difference between Kansas and Missouri when you're talking about what we
Yeah.
can and can't do. But we will look into seeing what kind of incentives and different things that we can talk about. It won't help you immediately, because it will take some time for it to sit down and think about it and come to some kind of ideas about a policy. And that takes a little time.
Yeah.
Do you know,
The
Sarah?
quicker answer though might be that whether or not, how we could legally facilitate a grant application. Sure. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
part we
something
could
that
do.
we'll look into as soon.
Yeah, this coming week,
Quickly.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Yeah, Shane, if you just wanna come by.
Yeah, I'll do that. And regardless, we're still gonna push through with the redevelopment. We're just trying to find, basically, it's almost like gap funding, you know? Once it's done, it's easy to refinance, have a bank come in, but when it looks like a shoebox, it's hard to justify anything at that point in time. So, that's all we kinda have, is just looking for possibilities, not just with this building, but with the rest, and as we acquire more, just trying to find some sort of avenue to justify doing the projects.
So I will say, I do appreciate you taking on our biggest eyesore on Main Street up there, and
Came with the dead bodies too. It was great.
But you knew that when you walked through.
I didn't know it was that bad, but
yeah.
yeah.
All right,
All right.
all right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 4C, that was 4C. Item 4D, consider bids for the Commerce Rail Crossing project. Mike?
Yes, council, we took bids on this project last Thursday. We got 5 bids, which is a reasonably good turnout. If you remember last time we talked, we were estimating the project at about $425,000, the construction portion. Our low bid was $409,802, and that was from Musselman and Hall Contractors. I did provide the bid tabulation sheet, Exhibit A, the staff report shows that. The next highest bidder was Gunter Construction at $437,000. You'll remember the project is funded by a loan from the Electric Reserve Fund in the amount of $475,000. The only other project cost that we have on this so far is for the engineering, which was just over $40,000. So with the low bid in place, it's clear that we have enough funding from that, from the loan of the Electric Reserve to fund the project. So that would bring the total project cost to just under about $450,000. I'm also requesting, if you decide to go with a low bidder, for some contingency allocations. With most of the projects that we let like this, it's a unit cost project. So if we have unit costs that overrun by a little bit, or if we encounter unforeseen conditions during construction, it might move the total overall compensation for the contractor a bit. So I'm requesting an additional authorization contingency fund of $15,000, and that represents about 3.8% of the contract. I think that'll be sufficient. Of course, with any change order, if it exceeds the authority of the city administrator, it would come to the council. But the nature of change orders during construction is that they're found out late in the game as the contractor's on site. Most of them are smaller in nature, so we'd like to be able to proceed with that as they occur rather than halting construction. The project documents require that the construction is complete within 5 months of the notice to proceed. The notice to proceed only occurs after you award the project, and then we get all the documents, the bonds and insurance are in place and we sign. So that might be, assuming an award tonight, might be another couple of weeks. So that would put the project completion date sometime around the middle of August, which would be before the grocery store would be open. So that works well with our time frame as well. The bid is complete from Musselman and Hall. There weren't any discrepancies in the line items. We checked that out. It appears to be a good solid bid. So I'm recommending that we accept that bid from Musselman and Hall in the amount of $409,802.76. and authorize the additional contingency funding of $15,000. As a side note, almost, you know, we're talking about this as almost two projects. We're raising the rail and we're also raising Commerce Drive. And so if you just look at the unit costs associated with the rail and then the unit costs associated with Commerce Drive, the split's about 39% on the rail and, or I'm sorry, 29% on the rail and 71% on the street. So the vast majority is for the Commerce Drive construction. So with that, I'll answer any questions. I do have a suggested motion at the end of the staff report if you wish to go that way.
Any questions, Mike?
Mike, I have a question. Out of all of these contractors, was Musselman and Hall, were they the only ones that actually did rail in-house?
Yeah.
Is that why they're so much lower?
They do their own rail. The others, I did look at the second low. They have Kansas Heavy Construction also does their own rail, but the others have a subcontractor for rail.
Right.
So that might have factored in.
Anything else for Mike?
Yeah, so Mike, when they do this work, not that it matters anything with our thing here, but when they're doing this work, are they gonna, will it be closed down totally, or are they gonna have one lane open? How will
No,
we do that? How is
the
this-
plans call for maintenance of traffic through the construction zone throughout the course of the project. So they're gonna do one half at a time.
One half at a time, okay.
Yeah, the phasing plan shows the north half done first and then the second half, but the contractor does, you know, if he wants to do that in reverse order, he can. We'll also have, we'll have to be reconstructing the entrance to McDonald's, the western one, and the western entrance on into the old mine, I guess it's Minute Mart now?
Yes.
But those will be done half at a time as well, so those will remain open for construction.
And how long, I know they have to have it done within 5 months, do they expect it to take that?
Haven't seen a schedule from the contract. That's one of the documents that we'll get back after the award. Yeah, they're contractually obligated to be done by the middle of August, but it's kind of up to them how and when they do that.
Well, it'll take them longer to happen to do it in halves. If we detour them, it would.
Yeah,
take
for
that-
sure,
it
and
would-
for
it
sure
would
it's
take
more,
less time.
for sure it's more expensive.
Have we had Musselman and Paul do any other work for us?
They have done some ceiling projects, nothing great big for us recently.
Are they-
They're good,
Good
good
company.
firm, yeah, they're actually doing more of this general street contracting now than they used to. Seen them in a lot more.
They used to be real just railroad.
Mhm.
That's where they got their start.
Any other questions for Mike? Motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the construction contract for the Commerce Rail Crossing project with Musselman Hall Contractors in the amount of $409,802.76, and to authorize additional contingency expenditures not to exceed $15,000.
I'll second. Second? Take a second by Ron McDaniel. Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Bill McDaniel,
Yes.
Ron McDaniel,
Yes.
Murdoch.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Motion carried.
All right, item 4E, consider quotes for equipment lease for Coronado Circle and Ravenswood project. Mike?
Yes, council, this is the project we approved with our list of capital improvements projects this year that the street department will be doing. This is their big effort for the year. Kind of a complete reconstruction of the cul-de-sac bowl on Ravenswood, and then all of Coronado Circle. It comes off of Explorers Trail. To do the project, we're gonna need to rent two big pieces of equipment. One is a reclaimer. Basically, it's a big machine that just pulverizes and grinds up the material that's there. And then the second one is a pad foot roller, just a big compactor that we don't have in inventory. We think we're gonna need those two pieces for about a week. The only two companies in the area that rent that type of equipment are Foley and Road Builders, and we got price quotes from both of them. Road Builders is actually slightly less. 1 week rental with delivery charges on both those pieces of equipment from Road Builders about $7,800. Foley is $9,000. The trouble with the quote from Road Builders is that they can't promise a delivery date on either piece of equipment. And it's kind of important that we know when we're gonna get them, and it's really important that we have them both at the same time. And Road Builders can't really guarantee that to us. The other aspect is that equipment we've rented in the past, and I just talking to Ron, from Foley has been newer and better maintained and just works better than the stuff we get from Road Builders. This will be just part of that project. Most of the money on the project is purchase of compacted aggregate subbase and asphalt, most of it. So this'll take a chunk of that funding out. So if we approve the lease from Foley, we're scheduled for a delivery date of May 1. So weather permitting, right around the 1st of May is when we'll be doing those two projects. So I'll answer any questions you might have. We'd like a motion to accept the proposal from Foley.
Any questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
You're gonna replace all, I went and looked at both projects, and, I can see where the Ravenswood, where about the line would be, but you're saying on Coronado Circle that they're doing more than just the cul-de-sac?
Yeah, we planned on the entire street, and I've got it shown. I don't know how well you can see it, but yeah, from Explorers Trail all the way, and including the cul-de-sac. There's some spots in there that you might be able to save, but not too many of the bases, really.
I don't have a problem with saving all of that, or doing all of that. I'm just wondering about that 1 week time period on that. I was down talking with Ron and Jim today, and they, you know, what they wanted to do, and we talked mostly about out on Ravenswood because that appeared to me to be the worst.
It is, yeah.
And the actual way that the road lays and where the trucks are pumping the road up about 18 inches to 2 foot. I mean, you know, and their plan on doing that and putting back 6 inches of asphalt is a good idea, and they've actually talked about maybe flattening it out just a little bit by raising it.
We need to get some elevation on the center so the water sheds off.
Yeah, I just don't know about that tiller or recycler, whatever you want to call it, to pulverize it. Basically, it's like you're tilling your garden, and to get it just right, you have to pulverize it. And to go through there, it's a slow process, and it's a dusty process, and going all the way up through there, they're still going to have to leave lanes open on Coronado Circle to get traffic in and out while they're working. I'm just wondering about that 1 week time period. I think that's cutting it awfully tight.
Well, I can certainly talk to him about it. Make sure, yeah, that was Ron's estimate.
And I talked with Ron and Jim about it today, and
they weren't so sure today?
Huh?
Were they backing off that today?
Or are they not so sure?
Not so sure about
No, they weren't. No, they didn't say anything about time. I wasn't under the impression, because when I drove down there, I saw some patches down Coronado Circle, and down at the cul-de-sac, you could see where the road had separated really bad in some spots, and you could see where they patched through there. I was just, I don't know, I didn't read it that they were doing the whole street. And that part, this is fair, I don't know how many feet that is, do you?
I can measure it right here.
Well, Mike, if they run over it, will the Foley have like a daily rate or something that they?
Yeah, they do. If you look on actually on Exhibit A, they do have a daily rate of $19.56 for the reclaimer and $606 for the pad foot roller.
So if they do run over, we can, that'll fall within Mike's ability to go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it would at that point.
You know, it'll still fall under his
right
authority. He can authorize a day or two
sure.
And road builder didn't provide you anything, oh yeah, they did
I
give
think
you
they
a date.
did, yeah, it's a little different.
My question is, if their piece of equipment breaks down while they're working, will they come and get it and bring us something else?
Yes.
And not charge us for the hauling?
Yeah, they're pretty good about that.
Okay.
Yeah, the first thing they do is they send out a
You wanna
maintenance
make a
truck.
motion?
to try to fix it.
Yeah, okay.
Are you ready?
I have one more question. Where will this money come from?
This comes from the capital improvement fund.
What we talked about last session?
Yeah, this is part of that.
Okay, so that makes a difference on kind of where we end up with that 488.
That's right, this is part of that.
Anything else?
No?
How about a motion?
I'll move to accept the equipment rental proposal from Foley Equipment in a total of an amount of $9,093.99.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second, any further discussion?
That didn't have anything to do with it.
Roll call.
It needs to be
Lane?
fixed.
Yes.
It needs to
Ron
be fixed.
McDaniel,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Bill McDaniel.
Yes.
Thank you, council, the motion carried.
All right, item 4F, consider additional. Are we done? Okay. Consider additional revisions to previously approved lease renewal with Great Life Fitness. Patrick?
Yeah, council, I did receive an email from the council representing Great Life yesterday indicating he had not, had a chance to review my feedback to him that I included in your packet. And so he requested that this item be tabled.
I move we table this item until the next meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, we got a motion and a second to table, any discussion on that? Roll call.
Lane,
Yes.
Ron McDaniel,
Yes.
Bill McDaniel,
Yes.
Murdoch,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Thank you, council, motion carried.
Okay, item 5, executive session, we have none, right? Item 6, advisory reports. I'll just go ahead and go on down. Patrick?
I don't have anything, Mayor. I would mention, I emailed and said on your counter, Mike and I have been working quite a bit with KISA on the water tower lease, trying to get things lined up so the contractor can get started on the water tower project. So that's something that I've requested we have some discussion on, and my request would be that the council authorize Mike and I to work through any insignificant items that might come up. You know, it's been sort of a daily conversation with Keats about different things, most of which really aren't that consequential, but we would like to get this lease in place and not have to wait until the next council meeting. And really the lease tracks what the existing lease we have on the old water tower, so there's not a whole lot different, just some sort of tailored things like fencing. You know, he wants to make sure that the city puts fencing up to keep the livestock away from, you know, the water tower that are out there. You know, the changes as of late this afternoon are in red on your table here. I don't know how comfortable you guys are. This document does not control the transfer of the property to the city. We are working on that, and that looks like there won't be much debate about that. What we're doing is this 2 acres, we're simply adding that to the description of property in the underlying transfer agreement. So that's how the city will be getting the treatment plant, is once the CERCLA covenant comes down, that Sunflower is required to transfer that land to us. And so in that original agreement from 2005, quote unquote property was defined as a water treatment plant. And since that time, we've had an addendum to that agreement to add the water right, the piece of water right 38 that the city now has the right to. That has been added into it, and now what we're working on now is adding this 2 acres. So similar to the water treatment plant, we will have an irrevocable lease up until we get title to that 2 acres. So,
And the urgency on this, council, you remember when we approved the water tower contract, just under $1 million to build a water tower, that bid was good for 60 days, and we can't sign that contract until we have this lease in place. That was actually in the motion. So, we won't have another council meeting before the expiration of that, which is 60 days ends on March 18th. Contractor wants to move in on the 14th. That's, he actually wanted to move in on the 7th, but got him to agree to push that back to the 14th. Obviously, he won't be moving in without this lease completed and signed, and which would allow us to sign his agreement with us.
we did have all these documents sent to Sump. I don't remember exactly when, but it's months ago. And so we've been, pestering to get, and Kisa is, here recently, she seems like she's really trying to get this done, but she obviously has to get approvals from several different people,
So we're just waiting on them to approve this right here.
Right, and
And so if we approve this tonight, we're able to authorize you to make changes if they're just nothing major.
right, like one item is insurance. Kisa's told me late today that she's still checking with their insurance agent on whether they can just be added as an additional insured under the city's policy for this 2 acres, or if they want the city to pay them a premium so they can purchase additional insurance. That's what we had under the old lease for the towers, that if they wanted to, and the treatment plan, if their expenditure for insurance went up on that land, then the city had to pay the increase in premium. We've never had to do that. So that's an example of something that really isn't, that big a deal, that really doesn't seem to justify waiting till another council meeting.
Do you have a comment you need to make?
I'd like 2 minutes, please. I missed call to order.
Harvey?
I missed call to order. Tim, may I have 2 minutes?
Sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a board here, a city council elected by the community. They represent us. For someone to make a statement on criticizing them for asking how money is spent in this city, I like it when somebody asks how my money is being spent. And a satisfactory answer should come back and not be questioned as long as it's satisfactory. Everyone has the right to their own opinion, everyone. But to be criticized when you come, you're an elected officer, you represent all of us, not just a few of us, it gets a little troubling. That's my comment, Tim.
All right. Thank you, Merle.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, back to the item in question. So you're looking for a agreement to pass an agreement authorizing you to make what changes that need to be?
Well, it'd be a motion to authorize what you have on your table, this lease agreement for the water tower land. But in addition, authorize myself and Mike to approve any additional revisions that are insignificant. I think Mike and I have a pretty good idea of what, would be significant or insignificant. If we feel like it's just not something we're comfortable, approving, then we'll we could always call a special meeting or, bring it up the next meeting. But, so yeah, motion to authorize the mayor to sign this lease as presently written, with the understanding that Patrick and Mike can approve any further insignificant changes.
Lori? Is you gonna make the motion?
I'll make
I'll
a
make-
motion.
yeah, we can
I
make-
move we approve the lease agreement as presented, and authorize city attorney and city engineer to make minor revisions as may be necessary, as requested from Sunflower Redevelopment.
All right. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
All right. Any further discussion?
Might just add, I think probably what we would do if there are, we'll let you know anything that's, other than a T crossed or, but if it's anything, we have any question, probably what I'd do is send out an email to all of you and just indicate that, if any of you would like to have the benefit of a meeting, then you can just simply send that back to me. If we get one person that says, hey, this is something, then we'll do something different rather than approve it, like call a special meeting or bring it up to the next meeting. But if we don't hear that, then we'll just go with it.
Okay.
And Tim will see all the revisions, obviously, because
Yeah.
he's gonna have to sign it, so he'll
Right,
be
yeah.
able to see and review.
And Mike, this is a significant savings. I mean, the water tower that we chose was quite a bit cheaper. And if we miss this date, it's gonna cost us out of that bond fund. quite a
Yeah,
bit.
it certainly has a potential to do that. Now, I haven't, the bid's the bid, and I haven't asked the contractor how much it would go up if we missed that deadline, but, his words to me were to the effect that, we were really slow and we really needed work when we bid this thing, and now we got a couple of other bids, a couple of other contracts underway, and we're not so hungry anymore. So that to me screams that this thing's gonna go up if we miss it.
Anything else? All right, roll call.
Lane,
Yes.
Ron McDaniel,
Yes.
Murdock,
Yes.
Bill McDaniel,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes?
Thank you, council, the motion carried.
Anything else? Mike?
Yeah, I have a few things. One of them is directly related to the water tower. I sent out an email earlier in the week with a proposal from PSI Engineering. They are a geotechnical firm that has a proposal to do the geotechnical testings on the water tower foundation. The total proposal is $4625, and I'm asking for approval on that. It's under $5,000, so an administrator could conceivably approve it. But I wanted to get council approval on it because I didn't get any other bid for this service. And the reason I didn't is because in our purchasing policy, there's a section in there that you can select a professional services based on qualifications. And in this case, I did that, or I'm recommending that we do that because PSI was the one that performed the geotechnical investigation in December. They went and drilled boreholes, they performed the soil analysis, which was the basis for the design of the foundations for the tower. So I would feel much more comfortable having them do the testing on the foundations as well. So that's my recommendation, if you, council wants to authorize the proposal from PSI in the amount of $4625. And the funds would just come from the bond issue.
All right. Any questions for Mike? About a motion?
I'll make a motion, we authorize, or hire, or authorize the work done with PSI for the geotechnical testing for $4,625.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ron McDaniel,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Bill McDaniel,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes?
Murdock.
Yes.
Thank you, council, the motion carried.
Okay, Mike?
Yeah, there was one other thing. The mayor and Ron McDaniel and Rick Walker and I had a meeting with Ed Eilert on Monday to discuss a grant application that we would like to make for 91st Street. The Mid-America Regional Council has currently opened a call for projects for federal money, federal transportation money, surface transportation program is what it is, They have $26 million allocated to the Kansas side of the MARC region for projects of the nature that we would like to do with 91st Street. And so Rick kind of headed up the idea to take 91st Street, both the rehabilitation that we've been talking about, needing to do for several years, and also its extension from the current terminus west out to Sunflower Road, and include that as one grant application through MARC. As with most grant applications, there is a local match required, and that match is about 20%. So we have to come up with 20% of the total project cost. Rick passing around now.
Yeah, the sheet.
The sheets, are the cost estimates on there, Rick?
There's 2 sheets in there, so take 2. Yeah.
Okay. For some reason I don't have those cost estimates in front of me, but the idea is that because Johnson County is going to open up the Ricky Lake Park, I think they're even working on it now, they've got a project this year to make that available to the public. We know that roads in DeSoto and Sunflower Road are going to be taxed by traffic going out there. So our thought was to reach out to the county to, at a minimum, offer us a letter of support for the grant application. And then the next step would be possibly to joint apply with us for this grant for this project. And then the ultimate goal would be that the Parks District would help with some funding, help with our match on the project. So we talked about all those issues with Commissioner Eiler. Of course, he wasn't committal on any funding, but thought that there was a good opportunity to partner in a grant application, possibly get some money from the CARS program. So Rick and I have a meeting tomorrow morning with the Public Works folks down in the county to talk about possibility of including this in the CARS program. The deadline for the grant application is March 24th. So we will have one other council meeting before we have the deadline, but submitting the grant application at least tentatively binds us to our match for the funding. And so it could be as much as roughly $700,000, 20% of the project, the overall project we're thinking about. And Rick, if I'm leaving anything out, jump in. So, not done yet. So we wanted to have this discussion with you all tonight about this possibility. We're in hopes to get, at least partial funding from CARS. The grant application, the money is fiscal year 2019, 2020. So we have a few years, if we're lucky enough to have this come to pass, to account for that on our budgeting cycle to figure out how much of that match we need to come up with, and just refine the project scope as we go. So with that, I don't know that we necessarily need any action from the council
The only thing maybe just a consensus that the application is a little bit longer process. I mean, it takes a little bit of time, so I think it would be better to give a nod that we want to go ahead with this so that Mike can get started on the application rather than leaving him a week to try and put it together at the end. Our application will be better, and we can start working on getting some other supporting elements to go with our application, like a letter of support from the county, in addition to hopefully securing their participation as a partner in the project, and then and maybe even reaching out to the main property holder that we need right away off of. I don't know if we might be able to make a call to them to see, inform them and maybe determine if they have any willingness to donate. We have to be careful about that because it is a federal project, so right away acquisition has to follow the federal process, but right away can still be donated. So,
Are they willing to give up that right away, Rick?
well, we'll just have the conversation and see. The cost estimate that I put together assumes that they would not be donating that property, so we've accounted for having to purchase that right away in the project cost. But hopefully they might see the benefit to their property and donate that right away.
Where's this section at on these maps, Rick?
Well, the section that has to be constructed starts at the west end of 91st Street and would extend approximately a half a mile west to Sunflower Road. So it'd be on the far left-hand side, it would say Ricky Lake Park, and 91st, so it's the property just along the bottom of the page there. It's like BLH Holdings or something, it's a
VLP land.
VOP land, something.
Yeah, it's been for sale for decades.
Right.
And the right of way is across there. So we have Intervet, when they, or Merck, when they expanded here, donated the north half of the right of way that we need for this new part. We would just need the south half.
Right.
So, this actually would extend, a retail lane of about a mile,
Half a mile.
half a mile?
Yeah, it would reconstruct the existing portion of 91st
Right.
as we have contemplated.
Right.
And then construct half a mile of new. And the cross-section that, and Rick's done this work, the cross-section he's laid out is it's a 32-foot wide total width. So, and it would consist of two 11-foot lanes, east and west, and then bike lanes outside of that. It would also have an 8-foot multi-use path. And the bike lanes and the multi-use path are an important component because with the grant application process, Complete Streets is a big component of that. Recreational, multimodal transportation, those sorts of things score really well on Mark's application process. So there's gonna be some pretty heavy competition for 26 million if we're wanting 2.5 of it.
It'd be
at
nice
least-
for bicycles to come from that park up to some place
Yeah.
up here and get something to eat too.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's a good plan, it's a good thought.
How much room, Rick, is there from the edge of this right of way that you have drawn into, the state right of way on Highway 10?
You know, I don't know. Mike, you wanna measure that?
Yeah, I can
Is
pull
there,
that
is there enough
Oh,
room
is
to
that-
actually build?
Yeah, it's a 350 to 400 foot straight. Yeah, it's a this would be like a package road to that.
It's a great distance for kind of a
It's
frontage.
set up
So it'd be
perfect.
perfect for
Yeah.
retail headed to the park,
Yeah.
people coming in off of the highway.
It's about 800 feet to the right of way.
800 feet, okay. Yeah, it's,
So you could have some serious strip mall through there.
I mean, the extension of this road will make that BNP land property, I don't know, I don't wanna say double in value, but, I mean, it'll increase its value significantly.
the Dublin would come when the sewers get up.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Well, isn't there sewer right down here at the bottom?
There's sewer along, at the very end of 91st Street, where 91st Street ends now, but it wouldn't
How
really, it would
big
be.
is it?
I'm sorry?
How big is
It's
it?
big enough, it's just too high. It's not deep enough to really serve a whole lot of the BNP land property. It barely got the Intervet campus. Just barely served that.
So, does, Rick was asking if we could have a,
That's fixable though, right?
no, I don't.
Oh, sure, there's lots of ways. to
That's
fix that.
fixable.
Yeah.
So you okay with it, Bill?
You bet.
Lauren?
Yeah, I think it's exciting.
Yeah.
I say congratulations for coming up with such a great idea.
Really good
Yeah.
job, Rick,
Yeah, I
Mike,
really
Ron.
appreciate it, Rick. How about you, Ron?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Danny?
Yes, very good, Rick.
Oh,
Get busy.
Okay, yeah, we'll have our meeting tomorrow and know a little bit more after that.
Yeah, okay.
Good luck, Rick.
Yeah, really, thank you. Anything else, Mike?
That's it for me.
Lana?
Please. First of all, I passed out to you tonight, the City of DeSoto loss history from Midwest Public Risk, the city's property liability insurance carrier. And really proud of our city and the city staff, because if you look at those claims, they're broken down in 3 categories, either by severity, by year, or by coverage. So if you would direct your attention to by year, you will see down about midway of that, I'm sorry, Mike. There is a claim on there for $12,901, and that was due to some playground equipment, a slide that had cracked, had some vandalism to it. That was in 2012. So everything for the past 3 years prior to that, 2012, 2011, 2010, is going to drop off. So you will note that in 2013, there were 3 small claims, relatively small claims, 1 small claim, $2,000 in 2014, and no claims in 2015. So for a city of 6,000 approximately population and 26 employees, I think that our employees have done a really good job of taking care of city property and each other. We haven't had any work comp claims either. We really stress being safe around here, and the guys would probably tell you, I hound them about that a lot, but we want everybody to go home safe and sound. But I thought you would be interested in seeing that we're doing our best to keep the city equipment and city property safe and sound, as well as our employees. Secondly, when I was at the Midwest Public Risk Board meeting a couple of weeks ago, they introduced a program for the Kansas entities that it's been going in Missouri for quite a while, but it's called WeTip, and I provided each of you an email with the color version of the PowerPoint that was presented yesterday, and then I printed out for you the black and white copy of it. WeTip is sponsored through Midwest Public Risk. It is totally free to any insured city, and WeTip is total anonymity. No one has to give a name. Your phone number is not tracked. In fact, they won't even let you give a name. And that is to encourage people to call in when they see any type of a crime, property damage, bullying, harassment, anything of that nature. And then they call in a claim. A call will come to me, tell me what it is. If I think it's something that we absolutely need to check into, then I would probably clear it with our new city administrator and make a call to the Johnson County Sheriff's Office to at least apprise them of it. But WeTip would do all of the paperwork as far as providing us with flyers and signs to post in our parks and on our city property to encourage people. And right now there is grant funding, so we could get 3 to 4 signs, nice big metal signs, through Midwest Public Risk at no charge to the city. And then they also help us design any kind of a flyer or a brochure to advertise it. So if this is something that you think we could take advantage of, since it is free, I would just like a nod of approval from you so I can jump in and go with it. And also I'd like to talk to Albie Cater and Dr. Wimmer at the school district so that we could make our students aware of it, that it is available in the community. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to ask.
I have one question. What about if we wanted smaller signs, like to put at, like say, for example, down at the shops or out someplace else to let
They would help us.
to let people know that somebody's watching you, you know.
That was asked yesterday. Ron Creason asked that question yesterday, and MPR will help us to some extent on grant funds, and then we also have some money in our safety credits with MPR. I'm not exactly sure at this point how much that is, but we can also they will take signs like, this size, and we can laminate them, but they will help us, and they would be at a much greater discount than what it would cost if we decided to go out and do them on our own.
Sounds good. What do you think, Lloyd?
That's fine.
Good? Danny?
Yeah.
Great.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. I will get started on it and work with MPR, and the program, for those of you in the audience, is called WeTip. And it's an 800 number. It says, "Don't let crime pay." So we'll get it going, and I'll post it on the city's Facebook page once we get it up and going, and Mike will put it on our city's website, and I'll keep you apprised. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Council and Mayor's comments is next. I'll do mine real quick. I passed out the a sheet that showed the market value comparisons. Met with the county appraiser Wednesday, and this was a summary of his report. It pretty much shows that we're increase in the taxable value is around close to 6%. We have some categories higher and some lower, but they had this is a summary report that he presented. I've got a complete book. If anybody wants to look at the complete book, the majority of the book is on the county and where their appraisals are with county properties, and then we have a section on the utility property. So if anybody'd like to see it, I'm glad to pass it along. The other thing I had, I met with Jay Garvin, and we talked about it last year, and we didn't get anything accomplished. But this year, Jay's been working. I asked him to work on a grant for picnic tables. We talked about that before, and what he discovered is by talking to those people that's involved in the process that it's not something you can generally get yearly. So if you want to make an application, you really should apply for everything that you really want. And so Jay's working on that, and we'll have that at the next council meeting. He put together it's at Riverfest and Miller Park both, so we'll have it will require some concrete work, sidewalk and pads, because they require ADA accessibility to get their matching funds on that. So he'll have that for us at the next council meeting, and you need to have it in by the 1st of April. So we're kind of under a deadline on that too. And that's all I have. I'll start with you, Danny.
I only have just one little item. I'd like to, thanks for the comments from the people here tonight. It's glad to see all of you here. I had one thing on the agendas that I want to talk about, that if we have some stuff come in so quickly at the end of the agenda, we need to place them on the following agenda for next week, and instead of rushing them in when we haven't seen them on the night of the meeting or 2 days ahead of the meeting. So I would request from now on that gives us a little bit of time to research and look over things. And I understand if emergency situations arise, that's totally different, but I did want to bring that up tonight, Mayor.
Well, and I'm sorry, I meant to bring that up too, but we've always had in the past, and you haven't had the opportunity for it to come up, but you always had the opportunity, and we've done that quite a bit of times in the past. If something comes before us, it's thrown down on the table or a last minute thing, you have the opportunity to request it be tabled until the next meeting. So you always have that ability, so we really don't need to have a set rule on that, but it's always available. So if you have a problem with something coming too quick, you can always ask council to consider tabling until the next meeting. We've done that in the past. Anything else, Danny?
No, that'd be it. Thank you.
Ron?
Nope,
Nothing? Rick?
I think two things. First thing, you still want to do the EDC, right? Board?
Oh, if I can work that out.
I'll just go ahead and do that. We talked about changing positions on the EDC board, and with that in mind, assuming Lori can work it out, I'd like to step down and have her take the position that I've been sitting in for a while.
Okay. Need me to make that recommendation to the board, and you're gonna be there to do that at the next board meeting? We don't need that, Sarah? Okay. Enough said. All right.
I guess I just had one thing. I'm done.
That's it?
That's it.
We talked a little bit recently about the park board and reformulating the park board and putting it back together. And I have brought this up in the past and thought I'd bring it up again just because I know you're gonna start looking for members for the park board if we wanna reinstate that. And, was just going to suggest that maybe we have a way, anytime there's committees that we want the public involved in, or boards that we want them involved in, or positions that are appointed, that we have kind of a way that, kind of an application type process where people know that those positions are available, and people who have an interest in them can send information to you, so that you can say, you know, like for now, say between now and, you know, April 1st or May 1st, I'm gonna, you know, we wanna put a park board together, and we'd like to find interested people in doing this, and post it, maybe on the website, maybe on the Facebook. I know we haven't done our newsletter for quite a while, but we could probably come up with a little thing with that. I know, like, the park board, Jay has a lot of email addresses for people that are using park and recreational.
Yeah, he said he had a way
Project.
to reach out to quite a
So,
few.
yeah, so that way, I mean, obviously, if we're doing park board, those would be the ideal people to be a part of the park board. So, not that it's a formal application process really, but just a way that people can give you their reason why they would be interested, so that you get a little bit wider variety of people filling in positions than just people that you may be acquainted with, or one of us are acquainted with. And just, that was just a suggestion, and if we can maybe just kind of brainstorm ideas of what would be the best way to get that information out to people. And it wouldn't, like I said, not necessarily a formal application, just name, you know, why they're interested in it, and if they've had any experience and things, because, you know, that might be something too, when you start to look for real good direction on the park board. It's nice to have people who, you know, have had kind of some experience in formulating ideas and putting them together. So that was just one idea and suggestion that I had. The other thing, I know we've got Mike in place now starting on Monday. Are we going to start a process then at some point of who is going to be the city administrator, or
Yeah.
what is our plan on that?
I think Mike had mentioned that he'd help us with the process, about getting started on the process. So as soon as Mike gets on board, we would start talking about how we want to go about searching for a new administrator, and getting Mike started on that right away.
Okay. I know I had other things written, but I forgot that piece of paper at work, so.
Just,
Go.
sorry to interrupt. I'm just gonna make, Mike has indicated that he doesn't want this to be a long-term thing, so he's very
He will be motivated to help us find
motivated to
a-
help, yeah.
Well, I'm
Find
motivated
his
to find someone too. I mean,
Me too.
I'm okay with an intermittent if we need it.
Yeah.
But we really need to get things, we need to move with the city, and we got a lot of things coming up, and we need somebody who's gonna grow and know what's going on instead of doing everything twice. Okay, that's it for now, because I
Okay.
forgot my piece of paper.
Okay. Bill?
I kind of agree with Lori on the, I hadn't thought about this as a comment, but I agree with her, and I agree with Daryl on his recommendation. Valerie, I think was her name, wasn't her name Valerie?
Yeah, I already recommended her to the mayor.
Yeah, she come up with some very good ideas, and it sounds to me like that she has some assistants. She said it was her and two ladies, or it was either three, or her and three other ladies, or something like that, that might, she just moved into the neighborhood
Yep.
down the street from me, and so it's somebody new.
No?
She's not new?
No.
Oh, okay, well, she's just new in my neighborhood.
Good to you. She's, never mind.
Okay, but she had brilliant ideas. I mean, some things that were coming up, and they were things that were not negative. They were positive things for the community, and I think at this time that is a very, very good thing. So, you know, I would agree with Daryl's recommendation, and I thought I was agreeing with you, but I guess I'm agreeing with Daryl. So.
Ron had already talked to me about
And-
contacting her.
Yeah, I think,
Exploring that idea.
I think she would make a wonderful candidate, but I also do agree with Lori that it should be from a more diverse
Yeah.
part of the population to get a broader spectrum of what different ideas are in different
And her
parts of the community.
suggestions on the website and Facebook, and I've already talked to Jay, he said he had a database of everyone that's already in the program, sports program, so we can get that information out and find volunteers.
And another comment that I had is I spent some time today with some of the guys at the streets department, and I was curious to is what was being done with some of the metal that had been bought that was on some of the policies. And I went and I caught Ron, and I went down and I talked to him, and some of the innovations and skill that was involved in what they've done with that metal on being able to clean and maintain our equipment was very quality. I mean, I have to go to a point that they built some ladders to get up on top of the salt trucks to wash out the salt bins and stuff. And having pushed snow a lot in my lifetime is a very, very important thing to make those things last. And I also talked with some of the water department, and they both departments were kind of open to having discussions with us about, I mean, we're getting close to budgeting time, so getting things, and I was talking to them about, Ron especially, about what was most important with the possible expansion that we've discussed here tonight on there, and that taking us further into the future of DeSoto. What would be the number one thing? And the number one thing Ron said was a place to park more equipment. It wasn't the fact that we have a process in place to buy that, and he's okay with going through that process, but he still needs a place to put it. So it's last, and I was looking at some of the trucks that they had lined up there in a row, plugged in, the diesel trucks with snowplows still on them, ready to go, because it is that time of year. And I was looking at the trucks, some of them were in the 06 range and 07 range, and they were very well maintained, but other than some rust. And there's not much on the parts that they were, and that brought up some issues of why he went with the Peterbilt or Kentworth or whatever it is, because it's a stainless cab. So, or aluminum cab, excuse me. So, you know, I was looking at some of those things and talking with them, and I really think that we need to have, we had one in the beginning when we were working on the purchasing policy. We had staff in here talking with us about that issue. I think that we need to have more meetings like that with staff to be able to help guide them through an affordability part of the budgeting for their programs. They know what they want, and they throw a whole bunch of things out at us to ask for, but to make it to where it's reasonable. It's like this thing that Rick just come up with. We've got notice. It's 2019 and 2020. You know, we've got some long range areas that we can look at coming up with funding for that. And I think it's the same thing with some of the things that city staff wants that's been turned down year after year. If we would sit down and talk with them about, okay, well, this is where we need to start, and go from that point on, I think that we could get a lot accomplished.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Sounds good. If nobody has anything else, I'll entertain a motion.
We adjourn.
I did.
Nope. You do?
My name is Colonel Paul A. Pingleton. I've almost grew up here. I want to thank you, Mayor, for being our mayor and the professionalism that you have shown running this meeting tonight. And I want that to carry on to each and every one of you. I'm really proud of you, all of you. And I like the way that he always backs up everything with his screen there, and you guys talk over your handouts, and you're a wonderful bunch. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Paul.
Each and every one of you. You know, it's a hard job. I know people talk and sometimes they regret later on. But that's people. We all gotta work together, and boy, it really does me good to see everybody here. You know, I know almost everybody, and it takes everybody to run this city. And I'm just proud to be here. And thank you for not running me off. I just think I've learned a lot tonight. And thank you, sir, for being here. That's all I have to say. And, well, there's one other thing on the street department. I stay out at 97th Terrace. I watch that house. You got 2 city employees, 2 big kids with shovels, and they dug out the ends of all those culverts the last 3 or 4 days. So Kill Creek won't flood anymore if we have a 2-inch rain. I was really proud of them. They're good shovel men. I don't know their names, I know their faces, you guys know them, but I wanted to brag on them because every time I see them, they're always doing something. I think $1 an hour would be a good raise for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And that's your motion?
I'll second.
All in favor, with show of hands? Aye.
Internet.
We're adjourned.